Karen wants a new car because she saw TikTok make the current trend, which is a big problem for her marriage. 5 years ago, my wife and I got married, and she is now pregnant with our child. A woman was talking about the pros and cons of a push gift on a show a few days ago. She sent me a TikTok video of the video. At first, I didn't know what it meant, but after looking it up, I learned that it's a way to thank the woman who is having your child. I thought this thought was very strange. Still, you want your partner to tell you how much he appreciates what women go through during pregnancy and childbirth. The things that make materialism bad stopped me. The woman on TikTok said that the man should get a lasting tattoo on his lower body and give her a house and a car as gifts. She kept saying that it's a body for a body. I thought those standards were pretty reasonable, even though I thought they were a bit harsh and mean. A pair makes the choice to have a child together. My wife didn't feel like she had to get pregnant because she also wants to have a child. They thought that was the last step. I just replied to the TikTok with happy faces and kept going. As a joke, I thought she posted the video, saying something like, "Oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous." I replied to the video while she was in the other room. She came up to me and told me she wanted me to buy her a car with my own money. She wasn't looking for a tattoo or a fancy house. I looked at her for a moment, almost shocked, and then laughed out loud. My husband and I both agreed that people can be stupid sometimes, even though I knew I was wrong. I gave her a push to see if she was serious. It made her very angry, and she said she did want a real push gift. As a mom, I told her that having a healthy child is her gift. I'll likely give her a Mother's Day card, a day off, and some jewelry she likes that doesn't cost more than $700 during the holiday. I told her that if she really wanted an extra car, it would be ours and hers together. When she thought about what she was about to go through, she said it wasn't enough. She wouldn't stop asking me if I thought she didn't deserve it. Even though she is worthy because she is my partner and the mother of my child, she needs to be honest and know that none of us are worthy of what she wants. I told her that I didn't understand why she thought she was ready for that, so she should lower her hopes. I didn't mean to put her down in any way, but that's how it came out. She won't talk to me because she is crying about the fight. I could hear her yelling at her sister over the phone. Still, I would never even think about giving her a car. I'm sorry she's in pain right now. But I'm not bad for telling her the truth. I got sushi as a push present soon after the baby was born. I really wanted sushi while I was pregnant, but I couldn't eat any. Not that jerk. As a pregnant gift, my husband is going to get me jewelry with birthstones on it. I'm also giving him a watch with his name etched on it. Those TikTok movies are terrible for couples. When my brother-in-law asked her to make him a boo basket for Halloween, my sister-in-law almost moved out. TikTok shouldn't be used to help women figure out their relationships. A scary number of relationships are ending on social media. Now let's hear the second story. Years later, an ex-wife who cheated on her husband and left her family shows up with his child and begs for forgiveness. What should I do next? Just so you know, I'm 37 years old and my ex-wife is 36 years old. We met when we were in our mid-20s. In the beginning, when I was about 24, we both worked for the same company. We were together for 2 years before getting married. 3 years later, we had 2 kids who are now 7 and 9 years old. She wasn't happy about the second pregnancy, even though I told her it would be okay, it would happen. I didn't want to make her go through anything she didn't want to. She also failed to kill it. Everything between us was great. We were still deeply in love with each other and our first child. Once the second child was born, things were different. She got very angry and irritable, and she started to pick on either me or our oldest child all the time. After understanding that this was all caused by hormones, I tried to make things right with this new Angela. As time went on, we hoped that things would get better, but they got worse instead. We learned from her that we should be careful around her. She was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom, but I was in charge of everything. She quit on her own, without being told to. While I worked, she took care of our oldest child and cleaned the house while I worked after our first child was born. She told us she was too tired to take care of our kids and the house while she was pregnant, so we had to hire a maid. I agreed. Even though it was a little too much for us to afford because I wasn't making enough money at the time, I didn't want to bother Angela too much because she was pregnant. I thought she would come back to look after the house and kids all day after our second daughter was born. Also, I wasn't one of those guys who ignored chores. When I got home from work, I was tired, but I still tried to help right away. As soon as our younger daughter was born, I thought she would need some time to heal. But after that, we would get back to our normal schedule. Still, a few months went by and she didn't get any better. She stayed just as angry and worried, and she wouldn't help out around the house. At home, she would just watch TV all day. You can also tell she didn't do much with the kids. From time to time, she would pay our friend to drive them to the park. I didn't mean to seem hostile, but I did because she wouldn't do the bare minimum at home while I worked day and night. It cost me a lot to hire a maid to do all the cooking, cleaning, and other jobs around the house on top of everything else I had to pay for. I wanted to save money for the future of our girl too. Angela wouldn't help me at all, so that was almost impossible. After my younger daughter was born in about 6 months, I knew we couldn't keep going the way we were. I must have talked to Angela. They agreed to watch our girls for the day because I knew this would be a hard talk. They both agreed. I sat Angela down that day and told her I knew she was tired from having 2 babies, but I still needed her help and cooperation. I told her that it would cost too much to hire a maid, and I needed her to keep her word by doing at least some of the housework so we could talk again and decide how to save money by lowering the housekeeper's pay. She turned down the offer right away, saying she was too busy watching the kids to do any work. She also told me to stop using her guilt to explain our money problems and start making more money. In spite of the fact that I was already giving our marriage my all, I tried to persuade her that she had to do the same. I also brought up how. From what I could tell, she didn't care about what the kids wanted and made them watch TV with her for hours on end while she watched trashy reality shows. It was something else the maid told me in passing. As soon as I brought this up, she got angry and said I was spying on her through the female helper, so I knew it was a bad idea. It got really bad between us, and she said she was sick of being pushed around by me and having to do all the work while I was said to just sit at a desk all day. She said something about how I should be the man of the house. Then she told me I wasn't allowed to ask for her help because I didn't have enough money to hire a maid. Her claims were completely false, and she was just looking for any reason to make it look like she wasn't doing anything all day, even though I was the one who should have asked her to help around the house. After a very heated argument, she told me I was a loser for being with a woman like her. When I replied, I called her a lazy cow who had failed as a mother and was now failing as a wife because our oldest daughter was scared of her. After hearing that comment, which clearly hit home for her, she pushed me hard. I tripped and fell onto the coffee table, breaking the glass. I also hurt myself. I had to get to the hospital room right away. The whole time she was crying and saying sorry, but happily my back wasn't hurt too badly. She had no choice but to move. I told her I was no longer going to trust her. I also didn't trust her with the kids because I didn't know when she would lose it and hurt them. Our mom told our dad to watch out for our girls while she was still living. She complained for a week and said she would never let it happen again, but I didn't believe her. She begged me to give it another shot with her. My ex and I were almost divorced. At the end of the week, we decided that she would get help and stay with her folks for a while longer. I wouldn't let her move back in with us until a doctor had checked her out, even though she was ready to work on it and get better. It was clear that there was a big problem because happy people don't act that way. So did I. I wanted their mother for my girls. I chose to try to get married to her again instead of getting a divorce right away. We also tried marriage therapy while we were living apart, but it didn't work out in the end. It turned out that she was seeing someone else. Angie was still living with her parents when my parents moved in to help me with my girls. We went to once a week. They went to marriage counseling, and for a while things seemed to be getting better. That person who helps her also called me. She told me that her postpartum sadness was getting better. One of her signs was having trouble controlling her anger. They were brand new for her, but as she pushed me, they got really out of hand. We were both woken up by that. Everything went on like this for about a year, and I even let her visit our girls for 6 of those months. It was fun to watch her slowly change back into the person she used to be. We thought we could make things work now that things looked better. Then, she stopped coming to therapy meetings all of a sudden, without giving us a reason. She stopped talking to me too, but I knew she was getting better because her therapist kept me up to date. I didn't get it. I tried to talk to her for weeks, but she would ignore me and say she needed some alone time. After she had avoided me for 3 months, I finally went to see her at her parents' house. I hadn't done that before because her parents didn't like me and thought I was too responsible for how she behaved. They thought that I was the one who drove their daughter crazy and made her act this way. I should not visit Angela while she was living with them. She told me that because we didn't want any more issues. She was dodging counseling meetings and seemed to be avoiding people. So I didn't follow that advice and still paid them. No matter when she spoke, she seemed bored, which I couldn't figure out. She said everything was fine every time I tried to talk to her in person, on the phone, or to text. But it was clear from what she did that she wasn't telling me something. That's where I thought she would be when I got there, but she wasn't. When I asked her parents where she was, they slammed the door in my face and said they weren't supposed to know. I felt bad about it because I could tell they were having fun. Which is why I chose to call Angela while I was outside of their house. As I tried to call her many times, but she never answered. My doubts grew. In a last-ditch effort, I decided to try sliding around the house, to go inside myself. I went to the backyard because I knew her parents often left the kitchen door open. I didn't have to go very far, though. because Angela was sitting on a swing in the garden. It was bad news that she was chatting with a guy I didn't know. Not by yourself. I will never forget that moment because it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I was almost back to my car when Angela turned to look around. The man left as soon as he saw me. She tried to stop me, but I was so shocked that I couldn't hear what she was saying. To avoid getting hurt, I told her not to touch me and shook her off. I got in my car and drove home because she didn't care. When I got home, my parents were told to get a lawyer for me so Angela wouldn't be able to protect herself. I stopped her everywhere. When I went to see Angela, I told her parents what I had seen. I didn't hear from her again until we had to meet with the mediator the court had chosen to complete our divorce deal. It was at that point that I had almost become a robot, emotionally distant and only caring about what my kids needed. Even when I learned that Angela was getting parental rights, I didn't feel anything. I saw her with this guy named Sean, but she hadn't changed her mind about being with him over us. He was her friend from youth. They had grown apart during high school, but they made up when she moved back in with her parents. It looked like she had become linked to him. Her parents probably didn't mind if she kissed him in their yard, even though she is married and has 2 kids. They seemed to be okay with it. They were happy that Angela was finally putting herself and her happiness first, as if she had ever been able to do anything else. It seemed like they had always wanted her to end up with Sean. Even though she cheated on me, the split took a long time because she wanted to be able to get alimony. It took a while, but my lawyer and I worked hard to make sure she got nothing in the split. Everything should have been mine since I paid for it all while she watched TV at home. 5 years ago. She didn't get anything when the split was over, and we made sure of that. While going through the divorce, I had some of the worst months of my life, but I knew I couldn't break because I had to take care of my girls, who had no one else to turn to. I'll always be thankful to my parents for helping me work and take care of my kids. They're really there for you and friendly. It's been 5 years and I'm glad I got a divorce. At first, I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me. I don't think I would be where I am now if I hadn't chosen to leave Angela. Since then, life has been pretty good to me. I'm in overall a better place. We moved into a bigger house because I am now financially independent and only have to take care of my girls. My parents live close by, but they don't come over very often. My girls are the happiest people in the world, and my friends love me so much. That is all a man needs. I'm very thankful to the universe for making things work out for me. It was like that until Angela came back a few days ago. I was getting ready for work when the doorbell rang. The kids were already at school. Angela stood outside with a child who was probably 3 or 4 years old. I knew for sure that this was Angela's son. I was still trying to figure out why she was standing at my door when she started to cry. She told me she was here to make things right and right with me. She told me she was ready to start a family again and try to get married again. She was coming back after all these years, eager to try our marriage again, as if she had the final say. It still amazes me. In that split second, I chose to stay away from whatever it was, so I shut the door and turned her away. As I had told her before, this wasn't her family anymore. The day she broke up with Sean was the day I stopped being her husband. Because she had given up control of her daughter, she couldn't talk to us as her family. It was the rule that they got a divorce. I then shut the door and told her to. I told her to leave because I didn't want her near my land. Still, I was so mad that I could have cursed her. The baby made me think, so I didn't say anything. Even though I locked the door, I could hear her crying outside for a while. I chose to forget about it. Before I went to work, I made sure the coast was clear. I tried very hard to ignore the thought because I knew that letting it happen would make me less determined. Angela had come to my house, and I had almost forgotten about her until my parents called me after work to ask why I had sent her out. They told me that Angela called them and was very upset after I shut the door on her. My parents told her my new address and told her to come see me because she was getting divorced from her husband. Sean could now make things right with me. They told me that this had been planned for a while and that Angela had talked to them about it about a month ago. They thought it was time for me to think about my kids because they thought my girls needed a mother and Angela was the best mother there was. Once they decided she deserved a second chance, they gave her my address and told her how to address me. I was really hurt by them. They had no right to forgive her or decide that she deserved another chance. They also had no right to ask me if I would be okay with it. Since it would have been very dangerous if the kids were home, they were being careless when they did something like this. Even when after being told they were wrong, they insisted they were wrong. They said they had the same right to decide what was best for the girls because they had taken care of the kids and helped me through my breakup. They said that they still take care of them sometimes. They thought that I shouldn't try to make things right with Angela because they had power over the situation too. I thought they were crazy to be so sure of that. In the end, my children are mine, not hers. To let Angela back into my life, I don't think it was their job, even though I love them and will always be thankful for what they did during the split. We had a small fight, but they thought I was selfish for not giving Angela another chance. They told me she had changed and that they had done their job. Good enough to live with my kids. They said it was rude to think they would put my children or me in danger, even after I told them she had signed away her rights. They told me I was ruining the lives of my girls because I was. They were too proud to see that they needed their mother. It's been a few days, and I still don't think what I did was selfish or wrong. I've given this a lot of thought. Angela and her child moved into my house about a week ago, and I just recently learned the truth about how she gets along with her parents. It makes me sad that I don't even know where to begin, so I'm still trying to understand it on a personal level. It's amazing how quickly, and without any doubt, they've all fooled me. My parents must have not only told Angela my new home, but they had also been in touch with her the whole time. After the split, I cut her out of my life, but they hadn't because they thought she would come back sometimes. Even though they only talked a few times a month, it was enough to make me feel hurt. After giving Angela the divorce papers, Sean made her sign away her rights. Either she had to leave her family and start a new life with him, or she had to stay in touch with her kids and fight for custody, leaving him behind. My folks say she had to make a hard choice. She chose not to stay with the family she already knew and instead start a new family with Sean. Angela wanted to stay close to her kids, so soon after I filed for divorce, she called her parents and told them what was going on and asked for their help. She said that getting Sean to push her to give up full custody of her kids and me fighting for full custody with controlled visits made her feel that way. Due to the circumstances of our split and her history of anger management problems, she probably wouldn't have won even if she fought for custody and was against Sean. It looks like the fight for control was a waste of her time and money. In the event she chose to fight, she could have lost Sean and, in the end, control of our girls. My parents came in right then. Angela almost begged them to let her stay in touch during her one-on-one meeting with our girls. In order to get help, she asked them to be the link between her and the kids. Angela relinquished her parenting rights and knew she would no longer be able to visit her children. But my parents planned to make the most of the time they could spend with their grandchildren as grandparents. For years, they lied to me by letting Angela meet our girls without telling me. They said they couldn't act properly because they were touched by Angela's situation, which is how they explained their actions. Keep a mom and her kids away from each other. But even though they stabbed their own son in the back, they didn't seem to feel any shame. They told me Angela could come over and hang out with them whenever I dropped the kids off at their house. Because they would pay for my daughter's toys and chocolates in return for my quiet. My parents never told me they were going to see their mother. What did my kids do at their grandparents' house? They always told me they played games with their grandparents and a friend of their grandparents. I always thought they were talking about my parents' real friends, who I already knew. That being said, it looks like my parents told my kids to call their friend's mom if they wanted to know about their day. Still, I couldn't believe my women had lied to me. As it turned out, Angela and my parents had forced and threatened them to keep quiet. I let them go. There is only stuff for kids there. When my parents told me the truth, I asked my girls if they had been seeing their mother without telling me. They started to cry and told me they couldn't say anything, because they were afraid God would punish them if they did. It must have been really clear to my dad and Angela that telling me the truth would be terrible. This is why they had been so hard to find and turn all along. I also felt like a bad dad because I never asked my girls which friends of their parents they were seeing. I would not have known. Anyone or anything could have done it. But I'm done with this now because all of them have a protection order against me. I had written proof before. As my parents wrote me after our fight and told me everything. They thought that reading the email would help me understand how hard Angela was trying to be a mother to her girls and keep her relationship with Sean in check. It turned out to show me that they were all lying, so I could no longer trust anyone. They thought it would make me forgive everyone. Angela signed away her parental rights because Sean didn't want her to talk to her old family, but she had to meet the kids in secret. It doesn't make sense. They are getting a divorce, so it was all for nothing. He was supposed to be her one true love. They even had a child together, but my parents say Sean doesn't want to be around any of them anymore. And Angela didn't want to go because their kid had just started school and she had gone back to work. He's leaving in a few months because he took a job offer. The last time their arguments got worse was a long time ago. 3 months ago, Sean told her he was done and would be going to get a job. I think this confession was meant to make me feel bad about Angela, even though all it did was make me think that justice had been done. My lawyer has already told me what to do. The plea for a protection order has been sent in. I've also had some good talks with my girls about things. I told them they would never see their parents or grandparents again. We are still working through this in treatment, even though they seem fine right now. I know this will be hard for them. It's clear that they've had problems over the last 5 years. This ends right away. First, hello to everyone. Thank you so much for all of your help and thoughtfulness. Thank you very much for all the nice words and gifts that have been sent my way. Mailed to my girls. Angela and my parents have court dates coming up in a few days. They have been served with restraining orders. I have stopped them on every site, so I don't know how they feel about any of this. If friends try to get in touch with them, I have also told them not to talk to them. I have been working from home for the past 2 days and have made my house safer. The school knows where my kids go now. At first, I was going to skip sending the kids to school for a few days, but I didn't want that to get in the way of their schoolwork. I am the only one who can pick them up after school since their teachers are also watching them. As of now, things are going well. If the protective orders are upheld, they might stop bothering me. 3 changes. Hi there, I just wanted to let you know that we were given protection orders. Angela, my parents, and Sean must stay away from me and my girls for the next 5 years, or they will get in a lot of trouble. The last time I saw them, they looked pretty mad. I'm following all the safety steps for now, because I want to reduce the risk as much as possible. Every week, my girls and I go to family therapy meetings. I think we will make a lot of progress in the coming months. To be honest, we've already come a long way. Right now, all I want is for my girls to be happy. Okay, that's it. Please don't stop sending us your best wishes. They are very important to us. Thank you for seeing. If you haven't already become a user, please click the notification button to make sure you don't miss any more thrilling real-life stories going nearby.